So I'm very excited to have Hannah Brown on our webinar today. Um, we will talk about e-residency in Estonia. I think this is a very important topic nowadays. We just briefly connected half an hour ago with Hannah and had a quick chat about like how big topic is becoming even right now these days because of lots of different things happening in the world. And I think I'm really excited that we picked this topic and managed to bring it right now today for you. Hannah is originally from Australia and also British by origin as well. Like, I think, am I right? You are also Australian and British, correct? That's awesome. And but the interesting part of it, on top of what she is, where she from, that she's based in Estonia and she's working on e-residency for Estonia to get access to the European market. And currently she is a head of content e-residency Republic of Estonia. And she's probably one of the most knowledgeable person on this topic I ever known from Estonia. And I will let also Hannah to introduce herself, sharing more details about her expertise and experience. But what I think is important that we would be able to explore Estonia for our global founders, how to utilize all the advantages it gives for founders globally, and what tax breaks, what potential access to the markets, and what else it brings. Do you need to be in that country or not? And many questions you might have also from your end. I think that might be a very interactive discussion. A few words about the community and some updates. Just for those who joined us first time, we are a community created by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs to connect globally and give you access to a strong global network, customers, and like-minded people. Also for you, and we are helping, we want you to help each other to basically access international markets and help each other to raise capital. And this is the cost of our community. So community is free, but we expect you help each other. This is how this community exists. We have a strong international team right now, and you might find here Julia, who is a moderator on this talk. Basically, the team is represented in like almost every continent right now. We have 37 people on the team in 30 countries, which means that our team is giving as much effort as possible to give you access to those markets. They will find the right context, the right information as they can in order for you to simplify the access to that market. And as for Julia, Julia is joining us as moderator for this panel talk and for this webinar. Julia is is part of our team, and she is a leader of Go Global Estonia as part of Go Global World Community. A great person. She also studies at UK University, and a very smart person to know too. So I'm very excited that that Julia could find Hannah to organize this webinar, and very grateful for that. So as for our previous webinars, we had great speakers like Hannah, great international global speakers. We had Bob Dorf, who wrote a book, The Startup's Owner Manual, Donna Griffith, who probably makes the best pitch decks in the world. She says her pitch decks raised about $500 million in funding. Steve Hoffman, Bill Reichert, you probably know all those names. And we had about like 40 or 50 webinars already. I never counted, so I might be wrong numbers, but lots of them. And there will be more, of course. Quick update about upcoming webinars and networking events. This Friday, we will have a Go Global Russia monthly founders meetup in Russian for Russian-speaking founders spread globally. Next week, we'll have Go Global World monthly founders meetup in English. So all founders from around the world, they join our networking session and they meet and help each other. So it's just what's happening in there is just crazy and amazing, because a founder from South Africa never met a founder from probably Singapore, and they connect and help each other to get to each other's market, for example, right? And use this opportunity to build your international strong network. In 2 weeks, we will have a webinar with Derek Distenfield. He will give some business cases and stories from his personal experience from working in Silicon Valley and building businesses in there. We also will have a Russian-speaking webinar, how to access global markets and win the world, as we as we call it like that. And one more webinar we will have about how to access Chinese market. I haven't put the slide in here yet, but it's already announced on our Facebook page, and I recommend you to join it. This is the QR code to our Eventbrite page. You'll see all of our webinars, and you can follow our page so it can give you notifications of something new happening. Quickly about our partners. We have global partners working with us and supporting our initiatives of our non-profit community. Those are JSD Venture Studios from the United States, Skolkovo Technopark, Moscow School of Management, Skolkovo, Axis Innovation from Israel, Mindhive from Australia, IB Consulting United States, Rusbase, Adventureland, High School of Economics, IT Park from Uzbekistan, Embry-Riddle University from Florida, United States, Collaborativa Community from Mexico, Startup News from India, Youth Entrepreneurship is from Uzbekistan, Expert Dojo from Los Angeles, California. And there will be more great partners joining us, and we'll update this soon. How to join our network, join our community? It's very simple. Go to our website, goglobal.world, and just see how to join and join our social networks. We already have 1,500 founders from around the world and more. That's it on my end. I'm really excited to have Hannah and Julia today with us. And I'll let you, Julia and Hannah, to introduce each other, and then we can continue. A few words about yourself, about your experience, and then we can continue on the topic. So I give Hannah.
Hi, everyone. So yeah, my name is Hannah Brown. I'm working as the head of content at E-Residency here in Estonia. And I'll talk a little bit more about why I'm attracted to E-Residency and why I started working here in my presentation. But I'll let Julia introduce herself first.
Oh, thank you. Just very quickly, because I think everyone is curious about the presentation about how to get residency. But my name is Julia. I'm actually not also local here in Estonia. I moved here 7 years ago. Yeah, now it's 7 years already. And actually, I wish I knew about all these opportunities earlier. But this program is, I would say, pretty new. And in addition to this residency program, we have a lot of initiatives by Estonian government. Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because someone, okay, sorry, so just something is with your microphone. So it's really amazing how many opportunities Estonian government is giving to us. And in addition to this wonderful e-residency program, we have a new digital Nomad visa. I believe Hannah will mention it. So it's just Estonia is a great opportunity with great startups. We have few unicorns. And if anyone is thinking to start a business here, and Estonia gives you access to all markets in the European Union, so you're just welcome. Yeah, and if you have any questions, just please, we have a Q&A panel here in Zoom. Just post your questions and we will answer at the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, and I will just add this, this following what Julius has said. Please post your questions in Q&A part of this screen. You can see this on Zoom, and the rest of the chat you can go and interact with us on the chat. But questions, please put in the Q&A section. Thank you. Anna?
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and let's hope that it works.
Of course it will.
Okay. So how does that, no, I think it's happened again, hasn't it?
Perfect. Yeah, you should press the button.
I should just swap it and then, okay.
Yeah, it's perfect now.
Great.
Okay.
There is something on the side here.
Oh, it's probably because I have a second screen. Is that better?
Yep.
Okay, great. I've got my my speaking notes on my second screen, so that's probably what it was. All right, so yes, today I will be giving an overview of E-Residency of Estonia, and I'll give a little short introduction at the end about a new initiative from Estonia, the Digital Nomad Visa, as Julia mentioned. So just quickly, I'll take you through the agenda. So a bit of an introduction to Estonia. I'm sure many of you know Estonia, but sometimes there are people who we present to who don't even know where it is. So I will give an introduction to the country and why it has these kind of interesting digital initiatives. And then I will introduce e-residency and tell you why you should apply, and also how you can start and run a company completely online in Estonia using e-residency. I'll then take a little moment to introduce you to some e-residents, some case studies, and our community here. I really enjoyed hearing Daniel's introduction about the community, the Go Global community, because I think there is a lot of similarities between the two. So it's cool that we're connecting in this way. And as I said, finally, I'll touch on the Digital Nomad Visa. So welcome to Estonia. I think it's about 7:15 here now. We're 7 hours ahead of the East Coast of America. Estonia is located in Northern Europe. Its neighbors are Russia and Latvia and Finland across the sea. It's got a very small population of 1.3 million, and it is part of the European Union, as Julia said. So doing business here, you're doing business in the EU. Estonia is a former Soviet republic. It became free from the Soviet occupation, as they say here, in 1991. And at that point, they had to decide, this very small country had to decide, which way they were going to go and how they were actually going to grow economically and support their society. So, there was one option, which was to stay close to their old overlord, but they took the other option, which was to look away from communism and look more at capitalism, and particularly at this sort of new thing that was growing around that time, which was online, internet, digital. And they basically just went all for it. At that time, they made a plan for their institutions and their government to be all online within, I think, a decade, which I think they did succeed in doing. And from there, it's grown into a fully digital society, basically, not just online services for government, but also most public services and private services. So now, 30 years later, it's where I live here in the digital nation, as we call it. 99% of government services are available online. The only 3 things you can't do online are divorce, get married, and buy property. But I think married is because of COVID might be changing soon. And there's a huge and because of this sort of tech boom and this amazing efficiency that was created by having everything online, business is also booming here as well, and there's a very flourishing startup ecosystem as well. So what is having a digital society means? Every citizen and resident has an ID card, which gives secure authentication online. This is the Estonian one, so it has my photo on it. And I'll show you the e-residency one as well later, which doesn't have a photo. That's the difference. Basically, it gives you the opportunity using with a sort of blockchain-like technology. So using different PIN codes and authentication codes and everything, you have access to the online environment. You can, for example, pay your taxes completely online. You can vote in elections online. Get health prescriptions without having to go to the doctor, and many other things. And I've written recently about this, but COVID has been quite a big sort of blocker for a lot of countries who haven't been able to provide their services continuously to citizens because of lockdowns and everything. But there have been other issues here, you know, the health system and the economics and everything have definitely been felt here. But on the services part, nothing really has been affected. And life here in terms of like the citizens' relationship with government has been very unaffected. As I said, a very flourishing startup ecosystem with some very well-known unicorns. Having origins here, not necessarily based here, but having origins here in the sense that some of the main people who worked in them, the engineers and founders, are originally from Estonia. So Skype, TransferWise, Bolt, which used to be called Taxify, and Pipedrive are some of the big ones, but there are a few others as well. And it's also, you know, you can take these business rankings with a grain of salt, but Estonia is known as the best in the world for tax competitiveness and also citizen participation in e-governance, and also for education as well. And it ranks very highly in indices measuring cybersecurity, ease of doing business, and e-government development as well. So some reasons to think about bringing your business here, or at least a branch here. And you know, e-residency is a way to help you do that. So yeah, as it says on the slide, e-residency, Estonia was the first country to have anything like this. As everyone knows, you can open a company in many countries, not necessarily any country, but many countries. But you normally have to go there, fill out paperwork, go to an authority to actually get it, maybe a notary or using a lawyer, this kind of thing. But here in Estonia, you can using e-residency, you can open a company from anywhere in the world, totally online. And the reason that they came up with the idea, and the reason they wanted to bring it in was at the time in 2014, they were looking for sort of ideas about how to get more foreign investment. And they realized that they already had the system. They just needed to adapt it for foreigners, basically. So it was quite a low initial investment to start e-residency because they already had everything in place. Really, the only thing they did was take the photo of the ID card. All right, so let's move on to e-residency itself. So I've mentioned this a few times, but here's the sort of definition. It provides what you get. It's a secure digital identity that's issued by the government of Estonia to people from anywhere in the world. So people outside of Estonia, not non-Estonians essentially. And it provides digital access to Estonia's trusted, transparent e-governance services and business environment. Okay. So why apply? I've mentioned it, I've sort of hinted at it a little bit. The main reason that people do apply is that they can establish and manage an EU company entirely online, so they can access the EU market. If they have EU clients already, it's an easy way for them to to trade in euros much easier at this kind of thing. But if we go back a step, the main thing that you do get is this secure authentication online. And so the third point on the slide is actually one of the more important ones, which is because you have this secure authentication, you can legally sign contracts and other documents digitally. And this saves so much time. You don't have to print, sign, scan, you know, this kind of thing. I think in Estonia, there's an estimate that it saves people a week, a year, just this legal signing and encryption. And it also means that if you do decide to run your Estonian company with e-residency, everything that you do with your company, you can confirm many transactions online using your card and your authentication. And as it says, you can securely access a wide range of public and private services, like I said, taxes, some banking and payment services, and reporting when you need to report. And I think one of the biggest things that's come out of this that I don't think anyone expected in the beginning was the fact that a huge community has grown out of this, which I'll talk a little bit more later. So you also get to join that community when you become an e-resident. What does it not give you? My small little red writing down the bottom there. It doesn't give any form of residency, travel, or citizenship in Estonia or the EU. So nothing. So it's not an identity card in a physical sense. It's a digital identity card. So who has applied, and who are the e-residents in general? So the main motivation is the ability to run a location independent business, because they can run their business on the road wherever they are, as long as you have an internet connection and a laptop, really, and you have the card can go in your laptop. So the types of people that we see are remote entrepreneurs who may or may not live in their home country, or they might be digital nomads and run their business from the road. We also see a lot of freelancers, and when I say freelancers, I mean sort of small business or solopreneurs who have a lot of clients who they invoice through a company. So e-residency can work quite well for them. And we do see also some bigger companies more in the e-commerce space or construction investments into Estonia, these types of things. The key markets that we've seen so far have largely been in the EU or just outside. So Ukraine, Turkey, these types of places just outside of the EU, because they do want to do business in the EU, and Russia as well, which I don't think is on there. I think the main reason that the markets have been sort of mostly surrounding the EU and outside is because of something that I will talk about a little bit more later, which is you need to be able to pick your card up from an Estonian embassy or representative mission. And because Estonia is such a small country, there's sort of limited missions around the world. This is something that we are trying to fix, and we're hoping that we can announce it soon, but there will be a few more places that cards can be picked up in the new year. And I've sort of given a hint to where those might be by talking about some of the newcomer markets down the bottom as well. I should mention as well, before I get to how to apply, some of the main sectors we see: marketing, consulting, legal, IT, software development. As I said, sort of freelance, so content and translation, recruitment. These types of sectors are the ones where we see most people starting their companies with e-residency. Okay, so how to apply? Basically, you just need to have a number of documents, including your national identity or passport. You need to also have sort of a motivation statement to show that you're really serious about using e-residency for business, and you have good intentions. You go online. The application form is online. website, at our website. Fill it out. I think you need to put a copy of your identity there, and then you pay the state fee, which is 100 euros baseline. But if you pick it up outside of Estonia, it's 120 euros at the moment. And then you press submit, and you wait for approval from Estonia's Police and Border Guard. They will do a bit of a background check, and normally that process takes about 30 days. And so you'll find out, within that amount of time, whether you're successful. So far, very few people have been unsuccessful. I think it's only a couple of percent. And mainly for sort of criminal activities, this type of thing. And then finally, and they'll send you an email saying that you're successful, and then they'll say, we'll let you know when your card can be picked up. And then you'll get another contact from the embassy or wherever you've chosen to pick up the card that it's ready to pick up, and you can go there. Some of them might require an appointment, but generally speaking, you can just turn up. I actually, before I started working for E-Residency, I was an e-resident myself, which is why I have the card. And for me, it was a very easy process. I was living in Switzerland at the time. There's no pickup location in Switzerland, so I chose London because I have family there, and I travel there all the time. And I literally turned up to the embassy, the Estonian embassy in London, and said, hi, I'm here to pick up my residency card. And it took, I think, 10-15 minutes. And by the time, and I had to give my fingerprints, and they had to verify that it was really me that was taking the card, because it is an official government document. But the whole thing took 10-15 minutes, and I was out of there, and I had my kit. Once you have the card, you can install the software. All the information is provided with your kit, which is the photo in the slide that you receive. And you can log on and start using e-services and set up your company and everything. So the next slide we'll talk a little bit more about how to actually create your company with e-residency. So the first step we've covered. The second step, so there are a couple of things that you will need to use the services of a private service provider in Estonia to help you start your company. And this is required by law for non-Estonian resident company owners in Estonia. Basically, you need a legal address and a contact person in Estonia. And this is just so that the authorities, the business registry and commercial authorities can find someone about your company if they can't contact you. And the contact person doesn't have any management obligations or responsibility, that kind of thing. They're basically a messenger for your company. So once you've found a service provider, and we do have a list of trusted service providers on our website on what we call our marketplace, you can find one of those, and then essentially you're ready to register your company online. It's an online application again. I think the hardest thing is to figure out what the name is and make sure that it's unique, and then choose your field of activity, put in who your contact person legal address is, and then you can digitally sign as a single founder. If you have multiple founders, you can sign multiply, and then your contact person will also sign digitally. And if you use a service provider to do that process, they'll sign as well. We do recommend as well that especially if you're just starting out in Europe, in the European market, in the Estonian market, it's probably a good idea to use a virtual office. But this is not compulsory, but it probably is a good idea to use a virtual office to do things like bookkeeping and admin, and you can there are a range of services available in the ecosystem that's grown here around e-residency. Again, that's all on the marketplace. The other big topic for e-residency is business banking and finding a partner. Some Estonian banks do take non-resident business owners as clients, but it is notoriously difficult. It is possible, but it is difficult. So we recommend asking a service provider to help you, because they know the process and they know what you need to do and say. You can apply for business banking for one particular Estonian bank, LHV, from wherever you are online. it's like a pre-application. But if you're successful in the pre-application, you'll then need to come to Estonia to have an interview with the bank. So that would be, if you did everything, as I've said so far, from the getting your card and you don't pick it up in Estonia to setting up your company, this is probably the first time that you might need to come to Estonia, actually, in that whole process to set up your business bank. But there is an alternative if you don't want to come here, even though we'd love to have you, and that is to use the fintech options that I'm sure you're all aware of from running your own businesses around the world. Many of our e-residents start with fintechs when they have a sort of low turnover, and then once they're getting a lot more growth, they'll try and turn to a bank. And I should say here as well that it is possible to use a bank, any bank in the European Economic Area. It doesn't have to be an Estonian bank. But banks outside of the European Economic Area are not accepted yet. And then, yes, this last point is, you know, once you've set up your company and you're doing business, it's like, come talk to our team. We mostly do marketing for the program, but we also love to help our e-residents market their, not just their own businesses, but their brands as well, because we think it's really cool that they've joined our community. And you can, you know, meet really like-minded people and go from there. So you did mention taxes in the introduction. I should say that although I have a legal background, I'm not a tax lawyer, and particularly not an international tax lawyer. And this is one of the more complex parts of running an international business, as you all know. So e-residency doesn't affect your personal tax residency. That's the first thing that we should make really clear. So that will remain in the country where you're tax resident. And generally that's where you live and pay and sort of, you know, live your life and pay rent and everything, or where you spend a sufficient amount of time. We do have quite a few people in our community who don't seem to have a personal tax residency because they travel constantly, these digital nomads. But I think they've generally gone to see financial planners and accountants about how they can make that possible, because I'm sure it's difficult. So on the corporate side, essentially your company will be automatically considered tax resident as it's incorporated in Estonia, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll have to pay taxes here, because there are many international tax treaties and double tax treaties that will speak against this. So generally speaking, you'll need to pay your company tax where you manage or do the most business for your company, where you create value, where you have a permanent establishment, these types of things. The good thing about Estonia is it has a lot of double tax treaties with countries. So you normally will find that you won't have to pay tax twice. As long as Estonia can see that you're paying tax in the right place, they won't chase you for it. That said, there are ways to make your company pay tax here. Like for some of these digital nomads, for example, that sometimes that's a way. Also, if you have employees here, or a sort of a full functioning office or logistics facility, or you're investing in your company is investing in things here, there are definitely ways to make your permanent establishment in Estonia. And in that case, it's quite a nice place to do taxes. I know that sounds crazy, but first of all, the taxes are not paid on profits, zero tax on profits. So the taxes are paid on dividends paid out, or any type of profits that are actually distributed. So, and they're paid on a monthly basis, and it's all done online. And generally speaking, if you keep up with that on a regular basis, it takes very little time to do. But again, this is only if your company is supposed to pay taxes in Estonia. I'm going to leave it there because I will say that generally the amount of tax on distributed profits is 20%, paid as 20/80. but this can reduce if you pay your dividends out regularly over time to about 14%. So yeah, if you are sort of paying out regular dividends, it can be quite you can reduce your taxes in that way. As I said, I'm going to leave it here because I'm not a tax expert. And if you do have questions about your specific circumstances, I'm probably not the best person to ask, but I'll share resources afterwards in the group about where you can have a look for more information and the types of people that I suggest you talk to. Okay, so I've mentioned the word community a few times. So since 2014, 72,000 applications for e-residency have been made. 14,000 companies by e-residents have been registered. And the e-residents come from many, many countries. And they've contributed a significant amount of taxes to Estonia in the last 6 years, which have grown actually every year, and more than paid back for the initial investment that they paid for originally. And the photos in the middle are just a few of the e-residents who I'll introduce to you now, just quickly. So Asap and Retno in the top left corner, they're Indonesian e-residents, and they run a sustainable agricultural business called Tanabox. Nevina in the bottom left corner, she is a Serbian American, I believe that's right, founder of a company called Recruit. And she's recently been, the company has recently been doing really well and been named a top startup in Amazon Marketplace and things. So we're really excited for her. Vicky Brock is a Scottish e-resident, and she calls herself, this is completely words out of her mouth, so I can't say, this is not, the Estonian government saying this, but she calls herself a Brexit refugee, and there are a few others that we've heard who want to keep their business in the EU because they're sad that Britain has left. And her online company is VistaWorks, which is originally a British company, but she also now has set up an Estonian branch as well, which is more focused on research and development and innovation. And that company is all about like trying to help us avoid scams on the internet, which is pretty cool. And she's one of our stars. She's always talking at conferences here in Tallinn, and she's really, really enthusiastic about Estonia. Another few stars on this page as well. Priya in the top left corner is a data privacy and cybersecurity expert running her consulting company with e-residency. George from Austria and Ian from Brazil. So double founders of an e-residency company and managing it together globally, which is pretty cool. Digital marketing agency called Mansion Tech. And Aligan is a Sri Lankan e-resident who's CEO and founder of Root Code Labs, which is an Estonian company. And he actually has it's a really cool story. He took part in the Estonian Global Hack, which was at the beginning of COVID. A lot of the startup community in Tallinn came together and said, what can we do? And they came up with a hackathon in like 12 hours. And then that eventually led to more and more hackathons around the world, trying to figure out, tech-based solutions to COVID, all the things that are making things difficult for everyone. And it eventually led to a global hack, which was a 3-day extravaganza of just a lot of very, very talented tech people getting together and hacking solutions. And Aligan was in the work track, the future of work track in his team. And in 48 hours, they came up with something which is now called Expert Republic, but at the time they were calling it SERV with a W. Basically, a platform for experts, consultants, yoga instructors, teachers, lawyers, anyone who can do things service-based to be able to meet clients and get paid and pay for services online. So they won that track for the global hack, and it's been a really cool success story, seeing him doing really well. He's hoping that he can come to Estonia once COVID allows to set up the operations here, and we're really excited for that to happen. Yeah. So, so what else we've got? One really cool thing that grew in the last 2 years is ERICA, which is the Estonian e-residence International Chamber Association. And that was set up as an independent like union for e-residents, essentially, by about, I think, a group of 9 or 10 e-residents themselves. So that's independent from us. And they basically are there to sort of lobby and market like the issues that e-residents face. You can also follow us on our social media feeds, which I've included there, and just a few other things that we have on our website, like our events calendar, if you want to follow our events. At the moment, most of them are online. Well, all of them are online. And soon we will be launching a company list, which is essentially a platform for e-resident companies to network with each other. And that's been something that we've been working on for a while, and we're hoping to launch that by the end of the year. Just another way for e-residents to meet. Okay, and I'll include these resources in the global community group after the webinar. But these are just some ways that you can learn more about e-residency. Our knowledge base is sort of the Bible of everything. That's the one at the back, the picture at the back. It's the Bible of everything to do with running your company, banking, taxes, doing business in Estonia, using your digital ID, that kind of thing. The blog is something that I run and manage and write for, and that's where you'll find lots of user stories, success stories, some news and events. The business guide, the blue picture in the middle is a tax and business guide for e-residents. It was written in cooperation with PwC Estonia, so it's quite detailed. And finally, our marketplace, which I've mentioned already, is where a lot of this private service providers that are servicing our community are. You can find sort of details about their products and their prices and how you can get in contact with them and everything. Okay, so that's e-residency. I wonder whether I should take a breath, Julia, and before I touch on the visa. What do you think?
Yeah, we have actually a number of questions. We
Okay.
have questions both from Q&A and also from our stream in Facebook. So
Sure.
maybe I will be just reading the questions and you can answer.
Just let me get a piece of paper. Yes. Okay.
Just in case I have everything opened, and I would also suggest that we answer the questions now, and
Sure.
at the same time we will put something in writing, and then we will post it, so that it will be available for everyone who have similar questions.
Great.
Okay. So our first question is, which stage of startups can open business in Estonia?
Okay, so really interesting question. It's any stage. If you're starting out, if this is honestly the first business you're setting up, you can use e-residency. Or if you have a established startup, you can also use it as well. Maybe for setting up a branch or sort of your European arm in that sense. We also do have, if you were thinking about bringing the business to Estonia, we also have Estonia has other visas, for example, the startup visa that might mean you could bring your sort of early stage in the first 5 year, I think it is, startup to the country itself. But yeah, with e-residency, there's no criteria in that sense.
Can I also ask, does it apply to non-profit organizations as well? So they also can do it?
Yes, so here they're called, I can't remember the exact name, but it's the MTU, and you can set up a non-profit association with using e-residency. I think there might be a couple of extra steps. The steps that I went through before are mostly for private limited companies, and the costs that were sort of outlined there would be a bit different, but generally speaking, yes, you can.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. The next question is, how the Estonian e-residency regime compares to the newly updated Latvian regime for startups? What are the pros and cons? I think actually for Latvia, probably we just recently established something, but Estonian program is already, as Hannah mentioned, was established 6 years ago, right? So it's
Yeah, and to be honest, there's quite a few countries who are sort of coming out and saying that they're going to set up a similar program. I know Lithuania has also come out and said it, and Portugal. Dubai already has their virtual commercial company as well. So there are different options for everyone to look at around the world, and in some cases they might be better options. We don't really look at them as competitors because, as Julia said, we're much more established. But at the same time, we have been talking to them, so they have asked us for advice, and we have been like happy to give it because we think that this is not something that only Estonia should be doing. It's, as I said, there might be different markets for different types of startups and companies. So we're quite happy to see that this idea is not just being followed by Estonia, but other countries are following it as well.
Thank you. Next question is, yeah.
Yeah, we have one person raised the hand to ask verbally. If you don't mind, I'll let him speak.
No problem.
Rod, you can speak. Please go ahead.
Hi.
Hello.
So thank you very much for the presentation. My name is Rod. Good morning from Los Angeles.
Morning.
And also, first of all, we have a brilliant Estonian community in Los Angeles, and we have Estonian Cultural Center. I have a lot of friends from logistic business, and they're ethnically Estonian. My question is, could you please give an example for the US exporters using your program when they start to expand the expansion of European market, and they open the company in Estonia with the aim of start distribution in Europe. And I'm speaking not about startups, I'm speaking about the consumer goods, medical equipment, and etc. And maybe if that American companies using also logistic hub in a combination with the with all services you told. Yeah, because from my point of view, Germany or pre-Baltic countries are 2 points for American companies to start business in Europe, and pre-Baltic countries definitely, no doubt, more competitive.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question, and it's actually something that I'm not sure I can give you a very good answer on myself. I think if for more established companies, I think I would suggest talking to the Invest in Estonia guys, because particularly when it involves goods, the movement of goods and logistics, that is an added layer of complication. As I sort of mentioned in my presentation, a lot of most of the user case studies that we have and the success stories we have with e-residency are related to service-based businesses. But that's not to say that it's not possible. I'm just not. I'm not sure of any cases myself. But I think that I can maybe provide you with the right contacts to speak to about that particular question. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No
it will be very easy for me. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. Yulia, go ahead.
Yeah, maybe someone else wants to raise hand and to ask question.
Yeah, I will let you know. People,
don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Please raise your hand if you want to ask, as just Rod did. I will let you speak. Yeah, please continue with the question.
Okay, next question. Could you highlight a few successful cases from the Russia and Ukraine, Belarus, Kazakhstan, etc., who applied to this program and built a large startup in Estonia?
So I have quite a good example from Ukraine, actually. The name of the startup is prnews.io, and it's a marketplace for content marketing, essentially. So You can go onto the website and have a look. It's quite cool. And you're able to sort of select for your business or brand, whatever, where you direct your content marketing to, you know, multiple journalists and media outlets all over the world. And it has different prices, so you can see what prices you can pay. And they'll also help you with some strategic decisions about that. So Alexander and Natalia are great members of our community. They're actually now marketplace members too, because we think that their services are useful for e-residents themselves in our sales and marketing category of service providers. And they also have actually moved to Estonia in the last 2 years on the startup visa. So they started with e-residency and then they went with the startup visa. And they're I think this week they've just announced they're trying to raise 2 million in convertible notes. So yeah, so I think that's quite an interesting case study. I also know of a couple of smaller scale Ukrainian startups working in renting data centers, like renting data center space, basically. One, and then another one. No, that's those two I'll mention. Russian, I'm not so familiar. I know that there are many Russian e-residents and using it really successfully for their companies, but I'm actually not familiar with any personally.
Yeah, we have a question from Facebook Live, and if Julia is okay, I just read this question. So Dexilen Mendoza Evoli is asking, startup communities from Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, Peru, and Colombia are really amazing. Does E-Residency Kit is planning to get to any of those countries? Related to my previous question, does GoGoBo is planning to have a representation in South America countries? Thanks. So for my part, yes, quick answer is yes, just contact me, I'll give you the details, and we already represented in there, but I'll let you, Hannah, to take on this.
Yeah, it's, as I said in the presentation, we have plans to, and I can't make an official announcement because the contracts are currently in transit. So I'm waiting for the formal, like the ability to announce where it is and when. But yes, we are. There will be a pickup location, hopefully next year, in the first quarter of next year in Latin America. But look out, stay updated to our social media and our blog, because we'll definitely, as soon as it's announced, we will be covering it.
Perfect. Julia?
We have actually a very similar question. What are the eligible countries that are qualified for a residency?
Okay, so there's actually no non-eligible countries, but there are certain countries where it might be difficult to, for example, get a business account for your company because of the FATF rules, and there are also some countries where, as my previous the previous question sort of intimated, that it's very difficult to pick up the card. So unless you can actually travel to a country that has an Estonian embassy to pick up the card, you might want to look at other options or wait for the time being. And for this, and in this space, I'm talking mostly about, at the moment, Latin America. Unless you can travel to America or Spain or Asia as well, because we have some pickup points there. Yeah, maybe wait and see. And also in Africa as well. We do have an embassy in Cairo, so if you're in Northern Africa, it's a little bit easier. But in the mid sub-Saharan and south, watch this space basically. So yeah, so there's no, like, all countries can apply, so it doesn't matter where you're from. But just yeah, look into the sort of the practicalities of it is probably what I should say. Yeah.
Thank you. Someone wanted to ask a question live.
Yeah, sure.
No, Daniel, can you unmute?
1 second. Kamal Charji, please talk. Unmute yourself. Okay.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, do you hear me? Yes. Yes, I am Kamal. I live in Morocco. I had the opportunity to live in Russia, and I speak Russian also. So my question is how can be, for example, Estonia? It is possible Estonia throughout e-residency could be, for example, a hub or bridge between Morocco or Africa and Russia and ex-Soviet states, SNG. You got my.
Do you mean in terms of moving there, or do you mean in terms of trade, or is that how do you mean?
Trade to make a business, for example. Yes. It's possible. It could be possible to that Estonia throughout via e-residency to be a bridge between to make the business development between Africa and Russia, for example.
I'm not sure. Thanks for your question. I'm not sure that that it would work so well. Maybe Daniel, you would actually be better at answering this question.
Yeah, I'll take one. Thanks. Well, I would suggest, since there was a little bit communication issue here, I would suggest write your question in our global chat on Facebook, Telegram, or LinkedIn, and we'll find you the right answer. So definitely there are some opportunities you can do this international trade. I'm not sure it fits e-residency. Once we see your questions in details, we'll discuss it with Hannah. Probably we'll find you the right answer if it relates to e-residency. How about that, Hannah? Sounds good?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
All right, good. All right, Julia, continue, please.
We have actually pretty many questions, and we will answer to everyone, so don't be afraid. I'm not sure, maybe we continue with digital nomad visa and then continue with answers.
Yeah, I would do that. Yeah, it's a great idea, actually, yeah.
Yeah, guys, but please remember that I recorded all your questions, so we will post also answers in our chats. You just need to join our Go Global Chat, Go Global World chat community on Facebook, and you will get all answers.
Okay, so I'll just share the screen again. And go back to, there's not so many slides this time, so don't worry, you won't hear me speaking as long. Okay, so yeah, just quickly on the digital nomad visa. This is a different category from e-residency. This is a visa, so this is a right to travel and stay in Estonia, and it basically provides a legal basis of temporary stay in Estonia for a special category of foreigners. And those are digital nomads, or as it's known in the act, the legislation here, teleworkers, people who are teleworking. Again, as I said about the tax before, I'm also not a migration expert. So there will be some things that I'm not going to cover as this one as in much detail as I did with e-residency, because there are many other resources and we don't have too much time. But so I'm just going to give you sort of the basic information, and then maybe for questions we leave them for later, because or I just provide some FAQs, resources, this kind of thing on the group. And this is brand new, so this basically applications only started in August as well. So there are still a few wrinkles with the visa, but it's open. Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about eligibility. As I said, it provides eligible nomads a temporary basis to live and work remotely in Estonia for up to a year. And it's meant for people who can perform their work that's based overseas. So this could be for an employer registered overseas, and that can be like public sector employer, private sector employer, NGO employer. It can be for their own company. So if they have a foreign business, you know, for example, if they have an Australian business and they want to travel the world, they can come in Estonia for a year and continue working. Or they can also do it as like a freelancer or consultant if and their clients are mostly overseas. So the visa is not a residence permit. It's just a temporary stay. It's a special category of either a D visa, which is a long stay visa, or a C visa, which is the short stay Schengen type visa, which is about 3 months. And it doesn't provide a path to citizenship or permanent residency in Estonia. The other really important eligibility criteria to be aware of is this income requirement. So basically you have to prove before your application, you have to prove that you were receiving at least 3,504 euros per month each month up until your application. And this is basically to prove that you have enough means to support yourself in Estonia, and it also is to prove that you have a continuing relationship in the sense that you are employed by a foreign company or your own business, because the main intention behind this visa is that you are working remotely. You're not working for an Estonian company or anything like this. And it is quite a high amount, and we are aware of that. I think this is just the starting point, and we'll see how it goes from here. But it does reflect the level of professional skills that Estonia is looking to attract, from the talented people that it's looking to attract, and it's also being reached from discussions amongst government and business. And finally, it's competitive with other countries who are offering similar working visas. I think Barbados, Bermuda, is probably a little less, and I think Croatia is also talking about it as well. So you will need to prove all these things in your application on top of what you already would give with any visa application. And there are no eligibility criteria based or restrictions based on your country of origin. So again, anyone can apply. You just have to make sure you're eligible for all these other segments. And then finally, I will just, one last slide. I won't go through the whole thing though, because I've been through e-residency quite fully today and touched on the digital nomad visa. But basically they are two different things. They're not related. So it's possible that in the future they might, provide some integration, but at the moment they're not related. I think the difference for the digital nomad, another difference for the digital nomad visa with e-residency is it's not an online application. E-residency is an online application. Digital nomad visa, you do need to go to an embassy and make your application. And standard visa rules and procedures apply. And so if you want more information about this, I suggest you write to me. I'm going to put my last slide up, which has my details. So if you want to stay in touch, you can do so by email. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can find me on social media. And you can ask if you want to ask questions that way, I can provide you with more information about this visa. But yeah, I think we can move back to the questions now.
Yeah. So where we go? Next question.
No,
Our next question was about 1% of government services that were not available online. We actually discussed it, and like a continuation of this question was asked to explain a little bit more about the permanent establishment for a company.
Yeah, so permanent establishment is a very complex topic that I think I will leave to people who work on a daily basis in tax, international tax. So again, I will post some links to our knowledge base on this topic, where you'll be able to read more about it afterwards.
Thank you.
Like a plan. We have a person, Valery Lizov, is asking to speak.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Valery, please briefly your question. Please speak.
Hello.
It's hard
Can
to
you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, Hannah. Thank you very much. This is very interesting. I was sending a message to the Q&A's panel and to the chat, but never got an answer. Listen, I have one question. I don't quite get what kind of benefits does this e-residency or the opportunity to register a legal entity digitally within the Estonian government to me as as an independent entrepreneur. What I mean is that I'm acting as a sales development agent for a non-Russian company promoting their products to another country, not Russia. So I'm fully digital, all right?
Yes.
And they pay fees to my Russian bank where I'm registered, and they tax me here and so on. Now, if I were to become an e-resident or whatever, and a digital Estonian, so to speak, I would have to go through these procedures and all that stuff, and I will have a legal entity registered digitally there, and I will be physically paying taxes to the Estonian government. But what do I get in return? I mean, how does it help me in my business? What's the perk?
So first of all, you may not necessarily be paying taxes here. If you're doing business mostly in Russia and in other countries, you would probably be more likely to be paying taxes there. I would say that the perk after doing all of this is that everything, you won't have to ever like print a document ever again. Everything is online. There's no paperwork. As I said, the digital signature is quite an important part of this. So if you're ever signing contracts, invoices, if you have a virtual office doing your admin or an accountant doing your admin, all the transactions that you do with them and between them will be digitally signed, and it'll all be secure as well, because it will be all housed on the Estonian secure infrastructure that we have here. So it may not necessarily be the right option for your current situation, but for example, if you did decide that you wanted to branch out into Europe and you had a lot of European clients and you're doing a lot of work in euros, and so therefore you wanted to have your foot in the European market, then that would be one reason that you might consider e-residency in your situation.
Thank you.
Have we answered your question?
I already
Okay.
turned off the microphone, but
Okay, next question is about the cost of e-card. It was actually explained. Maybe Hannah, you can say it again. So what was the tax of getting card?
Yep. So it's when you make your application online, you need to pay. I think it's with Visa or MasterCard at the moment. It's €100 for the card that lasts for 5 years, and you won't need to pay any more until you renew it basically after the 5 years. If you pick it up in Estonia, there's no added fee for picking it up there. But if you say pick it up in Berlin or in San Francisco or wherever, it'll be an extra €20 at the time that you pay for the application. Registering a company, I'll just add while we're on costs. Registering a company, you need to pay a state fee in Estonia of €190. And if you choose to get sort of a service provider to help you do that, it might be more like 200 to 300 or 400. And then they might also provide some like bookkeeping services and help you set processes up to help with that as well.
Yeah, we have a
Thank you.
question from Facebook Live. Nick Shilkin is asking an interesting question. Is there the e-residency API to embed it into business registration software? I like this question.
I don't know, actually. I haven't, I know that Estonia published, like it has open source of all of its e-service codes and everything, but I don't know if e-residency is on there. I'm sure it is somewhere. I wouldn't know though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, good.
Something that I should find out about though.
Yeah, it's actually interesting idea. These guys are challenging us on like on innovation age. They want already like to be 5 steps ahead. We already like talking about e-residency. It's amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
But Estonia is an IT nation, so
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if it's available soon, if it's not available yet.
Yeah, well, as I said, it's not really a separate thing. It's it basically all they had to do was take. So this is like the you know, this is the photo with the card with my photo, and this is my e-residency card, and they're essentially the same thing, but one just has a photo and one doesn't. So they didn't have to do much really. The only thing they had to do was change the law a little bit. So I'm not actually sure that there would be a specific code for e-residency, because I think it's just part of the X-Road and the blockchain that they've built. That's about as far as I know.
yeah.
Okay, next question. We also touched it during the conference, but maybe we can just highlight it again. So question is, can I open a bank account in Europe Union Bank using e-residence?
So yeah, I did touch on this a little bit. So, but there's one important thing that I didn't say. E-residency doesn't give you any legal right to open a personal bank account, an individual bank account. So if that's your question, whether you want to open an individual personal bank account in Europe, you can't. But if you're starting a company and you want to set up a business banking account with a European bank, it's possible, yes.
Okay, great. Next question. Are there any restrictions or requirements related to the services a company has to provide? I think probably there is some misunderstanding. E-residency, it doesn't mean automatically you get you need to open company. You get e-residency, and when you open company. So these are 2 steps.
Yeah, and I'll just add on that I became an e-resident not to start a company. I became an e-resident mostly because I was a fan, but also because the digital signing and authentication online part of it was cool. And I do use it I do use my digital signature for even personal contracts as well. And that saves me a lot of time, just in general as well.
Thank you. Next question. What are the investment criteria for residency in Estonia?
Residency or e-residency?
I'm not sure if I get this question. Do we have, can we ask for more details? What do you mean investment criteria? So is it salary or investment for the company?
I guess people mean funding for startups, but I'm not sure it's related. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I don't think that's a question for me. I think maybe that's a question more for our Invest in Estonia, which again, I'll include some links.
Yeah, I would just quickly touch on this in terms of approaching European investors. They would want similar like US investors. They would want some sales in European Union, but for you under your legal representation in this region. So having that, it will increase your chances to get funding. Without that, they would not invest in your local companies because they might not believe in your jurisdiction. So that's just the thing.
Yeah, and I was actually writing about this today a little bit, that yes, if you have an Estonian company, you're considered a European company, and so you are eligible for these types of investment grants and funding and diagnostics support services, these types of things. So they are available to you, even though you are a non-resident who owns an Estonian company.
Okay, next question. How many times a year do you need to come to Estonia with e-resident status? I suppose 0.
It's 0, yeah. As I said, we'd love for you to come, but no, it doesn't. You don't have to come here at all. If you want to set up a traditional bank account, business bank account, you may need to come to sort of show your face and talk with the bank manager. But apart from that, there's no obligation at all. But kind of related to the last question a little bit, there's a really vibrant startup community here, and there's a lot of accelerators, incubators, local VC investment funds, and also some really cool conferences and networking opportunities. So if you get to a point with your company and you're looking at these avenues, it might be worth coming and attending some conferences, getting some meetings with some of the startup wise guys and Startup Estonia and some of the industry kind of clusters that we have here, and that might be a step in the right direction to sort of grow your company and get some more finance or more business opportunities in that way. So yeah, there's no obligation at all, but it might be a good idea at some point.
And guys, if you're interested, actually, a few weeks ago, I posted in the Go Global World chat. We will have our business angels. We organize hackathons on twice per year, and the next one will be first weekend of October. And they are still, you can still apply. So if you're interested, it will be completely online, 50 startups and international participation. So you can just take part and maybe even to get some funding or maybe to increase your network so you can know more about our community in general, about our ecosystem. So if anyone is interested, I can just post it again, but you need to hurry if you are interested, because I think the deadline is this weekend.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Just remind people on the chat and they will do something. Next question from Artur Serra. Are there any restrictions or requirements related to the services a company has to provide in order to take the e-residency?
In terms of the goods and services providing, sorry, I just missed that last.
Are there any restrictions or requirements related to the e-services, to the services a company has to provide in order to take the e-residency?
Yeah, I mean, there will be some services that will be illegal, which are probably very similar to any country. Things that are illegal to sell or to do. But generally speaking, I suppose the other thing to say here would be that there are business licenses for some services as well. So I know, for example, tourism related activities, you might need to give a notice of economic activity or get a license for doing that. There are some things in construction, management consulting, I think, telecommunications, I mean, sectors that I think you're probably used to in your own jurisdictions, getting licenses for this type of thing. Education as well as another one. But generally speaking, the services are not so heavily regulated, depending on which ones they are though.
Great. Then we have a couple of more questions about benefits. I think we already discussed it, and if you need to get extra information, just please post it in Go Global World chat, and we will answer. Then it was a question about after getting e-residency, can we open a physical store in Estonia to launch our clothing line?
So, the fact of having e-residency wouldn't necessarily give you that option, but there might be, if, for example, if you're an EU resident, you'd be able to do it. You'd be able to move here freely because of the free movement. If you were coming from outside of the EU, some countries have special visas that enable that to happen. But generally speaking, you would need to go through the migration route or the business investment route to make that happen. So yeah, e-residence wouldn't give you any automatic right to do that, basically.
Okay, thank you. Not so many questions left. The next one is, what is the flexibility in terms of charging expenses, car, hotel, restaurants, travel on the corporate compared to other countries? Are there more or less restrictions on that? I'm not sure if I get.
No, I think what they're talking about is sort of tax deductions and these types of things. Yeah, this is quite a specific question. I will link to the business guide because there's a whole chapter on it. So that will help you with that question.
Thank you. Next question, is e-residency something interesting for someone selling IoT products plus PaaS, SaaS worldwide? Platform, a service, or software, a service plus remote training? I think yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think actually that would be the perfect, the perfect model for e-residency. Yeah, anything that is provided online, like software as a service or software development, that type of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Next question is, does an Estonian corporate have a localized Estonian virtual address for foreign paper mail communication? I'm not sure about paper communication nowadays because in Estonia, everyone uses electronic documentation. You have electronic signature, so you just you can forget about paper, but probably there are some special circumstances.
Yeah, I haven't received many paper documents here at all, apart from maybe when I got my bank card. That was probably the only thing. I think that when you sign up, you give an email address, and one thing about the Estonian online environment is it's accessible, it's open and transparent, and it's accessible. So if you do sign up and start a company, I would highly recommend choosing an email address that you don't look at a lot. But at the same time, that email address will they will use that for like virtual communications sometimes. But generally speaking, you just use your card and you sign into the business system, the commercial register, whatever it is, the tax register, whatever it is, and everything is there for you. You can see all your past transactions, when they were, what time they were. You can also see, which is one really cool thing in Estonia in relation to the data privacy here, you can also see who else has looked at your data. So, and where they work and at what time and when they did it. And that is pretty cool. That shows just how transparent the system is, which can be very good in business. And another attraction for starting a company here. But yeah, the email point is actually quite a good one because we do have people complaining to us all the time. Oh, I get so much spam on my email. So yeah, be wise with which email you put on the register.
I noticed that some people are trying to network here in the chat. So Zoom probably won't allow you doing this, but we are absolutely fine. So on our global chat, just introduce yourself and you'll be able to connect with each other, and just don't do any paid service advertising like consultancy or something, but just introduce yourself and share how we can help you, how you can help the community. And that would be, I mean, you can build your audience out of this webinar, maybe more. Yeah. We have some questions on live stream as well, so let me read this one, Julia. Mohammed S. Salam, as Estonian e-resident, as an Estonian e-resident, is this give me the right to establish a company and open a bank account outside Estonia?
No, it's specifically for Estonia, and again with the bank account, you could technically open a bank account in another European country and use it for your Estonian company, but if you're outside of Europe, it might be difficult to open a bank account in another European company when you're opening your business in Estonia. But definitely, it's definitely possible to use e-residency to start your company in Estonia, which is in Europe, and get fintech or business banking accounts as well.
I saw, by the way, pretty many questions about banking service, and Hanna mentioned in the slides a company Paysera. This is actually Lithuanian startup, and if you are interested, guys, probably we invite them to explain how it works, and maybe you can get some useful information.
Yeah, we probably could do a webinar with them if you guys can connect us, and we can just explain in greater detail so people can utilize the financial services. Probably, why not? I'm happy to think of that.
I think it's a big topic at the moment, particularly with all the news about the money laundering and everything. So I know that it's always tough for small business to sort of find the right model for them. This is a topic we have every day, discussion we have every day with e-residents. So I think banking and tax are the two most complex and difficult issues at the moment for sort of global businesses.
Yeah. Julia?
Okay, we have one minute left, and actually the last question is from Facebook. Tell us, please, in more detail, what opportunities there are for e-residents to receive grants. Are there any technoparks, and how can e-residents participate there? I can also comment it.
Yeah, so I did talk a little bit about that before. Yes, there are technoparks, accelerators, incubators, and as I said, it is possible as an Estonian company to get Europe-funded grants. So yes, that is a possibility. But Julia, please.
Yeah, and just it would be good also to summarize our conversation. We will post, you can see recording of this video on our page on YouTube. So just look for Go Global World. When we have pages on Facebook, Go Global World, Go Global World Chat, and we have page on LinkedIn. After we will post also all questions and answers there, and we will post recording of this call. And in addition, we will also share some useful resources. So, for example, we have wonderful organizations called the International House of Estonia, and you can get a free consultation of services. We can provide some information about Estonia, like about healthcare system, how to get some documents, etc. And this is really great. When we have a lot of also accelerators, and we can share all the details with you. So everything will be posted.
Yeah, thank you very much, Julia. And I also would add that there is a group chat called Go Global Estonia, so Estonian people can connect and discuss locally as part of our community some specific questions related to that. So I also posted in this chat the link. This information in the chat will be lost. In case you want to keep anything, just make a copy of it for yourself. And I think as the final word, we will let Hanna to close this session with your words of wisdom or recommendation, or like just some good final closing words.
Okay. Thank you, Danil, and thank you, Julia, and thank you very much for everyone for your great questions and discussion. As I said at the beginning, I think there's a lot of overlap and sort of similarities between our two communities, and so it's really nice that we've connected. I think at the moment we're all basically living in our own houses, so it's really nice to connect online. And in business, you know, networking is key. So let's keep up this link, and hopefully we can talk more about issues affecting both of us together soon.
And that was Hannah Brown, head of E-Residency of Estonia. And I'm excited to continue this conversation on our global chats. We'll look forward when you post this information there, and these questions will be shared in there. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.